All right, good evening. This is Ron. Monday evening, January 13th, a little after 6 p.m. I want to start with questions, of course, but there was a question we had yesterday that we did not get to, and I wanted to start with that one first. And someone asked a question about the fires, wildfires, and any significance in it. And we talked about it a little bit on Saturday, but has anyone given any more thought to it or seen anything else uh, that you like to share with us about the fires out west? Excuse me. Nobody? Pastor, you talked about them brief Saturday. Did you all care to elaborate any further or say anything about it?
No, not really. The only thing I want to emphasize the empathy that I have for the people.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anyone else? All right. Um, I'll move to our next question, but if anybody has anything about the fires, any insight or anything that you feel, or any other questions, so please feel free to do so, okay? Just jump right in and let us know. Anyone else have any questions or concerns about anything we discussed yesterday or something that may have gotten your attention since we met last?
I noticed that the infighting with the next administration has begun already. Um,
The what, Reverend Richard?
the infighting has already begun. I read an article today where who was it? Steve Bannon said that he was going to get rid of Elon Musk before inauguration. And then he labeled Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and this other guy, all three of them are South Africans who influenced the election. And he said, why would we allow the most racist people on the face of the earth, white South Africans, to be raising questions about what we're doing here in America? So I take that as a shot across the bow, and I just leave it at that.
Pretty powerful statement, though.
Yeah.
This is Vermel. Is this an irony? Because aren't we talking about, isn't Steve Bannon cut of the same cloth?
Say again.
Isn't this irony? Isn't Stephen Bannon cut from the same cloth as Elon?
Well, well, he cut from the same cloth of all of them. However, that's what usually happens. It doesn't matter. All of them would be racist. They usually end up fighting each other because everybody's fighting for power.
Okay. Any other questions, guys? Anything about yesterday? Any insight or Hmm. Excuse me. I am Phil.
Ron, this is
Yes.
Linda.
Hey,
Let me
Linda.
ask you a question. Hi, how are you all? Um, I remember when Steve Bannon was released from prison, and he made the statement saying that there would be a race war regardless of who won the election. So does this have anything to do with them coming against each other and him making that statement? Do you think that connects with him saying that about it will be Elon Musk against them?
No, I don't think that's it at all, Linda. It's not Elon Musk against him. It is infighting um, within a racist group of people. And when you get people fighting each other, you just step back and let them fight. And both of them, Elon Musk and Steve Bannon, both are vying for power. And both of them are connected to white nationalism or Christian nationalism, which is the same thing. And neither one of them are concerned about any people of color. So when I made that statement, I simply made it as a recognition of the signs of the times in reference to what we had talked about in the past about the battles between them and how they were going to destroy each other and we would not have anything to do other than to sit back and continue to put righteousness and truth into the macro. Does that help you, Linda?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good question. Anyone else? I woke up this morning and first thing I always do is check the temperature. Wasn't it a few short years ago we were talking about bringing balance, and one of the things we were going to see when balance uh, came about was the weather patterns changing back to what the more predictable weather that they should be. This is what, like it or not, this is what January used to look like here. Uh, pretty cold. And I think next few weeks is gonna kind of remain the same. So, but again, to me, it just kind of points to the desires and one of the signs that you see right before you, some of the things that we may not pay attention to.
Yeah, I, I see that as us getting back to where we're supposed to be.
Yeah. Um, if nobody else has a question,
I have a question. Talking about the weather pattern, does this have anything to do with the, oh God, let's slip my mind that quick. The climate change, the way things are changing, the reason why that wind is blowing so hard out in California. And what can you do, what can be done for the climate change? I think we talked about that a long time ago.
well, I guess I'll start, Kathy. I think we've talked about uh, weather patterns and our influence on them, and you know, I'll be the first to say, and I can't talk for everybody. I haven't felt a need to look into it. I've noticed them too. Uh, those winds are strong this time of year. I don't know if they're stronger or they're seeing right now, but it is the time of year that you would see that, see strong winds out there, but it does seem to be exaggerated quite a bit more than what's been normal. But anyone else, anybody, any
Well, they're expecting hurricane force winds before the week is over with. No one knows when the fire is really going to be contained. Um, there are so many people who are suffering from it, and I read articles about this guy who owns real estate there. He is a real estate executive, and he was searching for private firemen to protect his property, and said the cost didn't matter. He would pay whatever they charged. And he got ridiculed on social media for that and deleted it. Then there was this discussion about this person whose house was burned, and he went to another neighborhood and bought another house for $15 million. So, what am I saying to you? I'm saying to you that what we are seeing is a clear picture of the haves and the have nots. We're seeing a clear picture of how this country relates to people with money as opposed to people who are hardworking and are barely making ends meet. Um, this is not the first fire that destroyed quite a few homes. Neither is it the first catastrophic event that destroyed people's homes, such as hurricanes in Florida, etc. However, um, the people who are involved now are people who are famous and people who are filthy rich, along with those people who are hardworking people. So we are seeing a different response to it. And we're also seeing um, the politics that's going into it with the Republicans making comments about if it were not for the Democrats, the fire would be contained, that kind of thing. Those that, of course, that's ignorance, if not stupidity. But I see also that this is a way that the universe seeks recompense. And it's horrible, but it happens. It is no more horrible than what's happening in Gaza. Matter of fact, Gaza is worse than this because of the number of lives that are being taken every single day because of the bombs that we are sending to Gaza. And they show the pictures of all the dwellings that are burned, and they talk about how awful it looks. Well, it looks like Gaza to me. And it seems as well, not seem, we have come to understand that no one really cares about what's happening in Gaza anymore because the election is over and nobody's paying any attention to it. Yet these people are still suffering, and we are crying about the people who are suffering here. Do we think that we can continue to do the things we're doing to people in this country and around the world, and it doesn't come back? Again, I have empathy for them, but at the same time, it's coming because of the government, the leadership. The universe responds to leadership, and you cannot continue to just seek to destroy people and control and manipulate them, and not expect it to come back to you. It's horrible, but it happens, and innocent people suffer as a result of it, just as they are suffering in Gaza, just as they're suffering in Sudan, just as they're suffering in Nigeria, just as they're suffering in the Congo, just as they're suffering throughout this world. And all the suffering is at the hands of Europeans. Either it is France, Britain, or the US, or all of them combined. And that's the part nobody want to talk about And that's the part that makes people on this call uneasy because of the true nature of it. We mourn about what happens to us, and we don't care about what happens to anyone else. We talk about it at a distance, how bad it is with Gaza, but we don't want to talk about the recompense that happens as a result of what we are doing in Gaza. Because keep in mind that government represents all of us, and it represents the energy of this nation. And I don't care whether it's Trump or Biden, it's the same thing. Biden is complicit in the murder of those people in Gaza, and yet he's moaning about what's happening in California. A life is a life, and people are people. And if you don't care, or if you're complicit in what's happening to those people in Gaza, what do you think will happen here? Why is it that you value the life of the people in California more than you do the life of the people in Gaza? You value the property in California more than you do the property in Gaza. Why is that so? And why is it that we are so disconnected from humanity, reality, and emotions until we can join in the choir singing the praises of those, I'm sorry, not praises, those bemoaning rather, those who are losing property. When people are losing their lives, we're talking 40,000 plus people dead in Gaza and 16 in California. A life is a life. And if we can't bemoan what happened in Gaza, how are we going to bemoan what happens in California? My empathy goes to both of them. However, at the same time, I understand what's happening.
I have a question.
Well,
Okay.
and the difference is,
Reverend Richard.
Well,
Hold on, just one second. If Audra's going to address something Pastor said, do you mind, Evelyn? Hold on one
Oh,
second.
I yield. No worries. I yield.
she better not mind. I love you, Evelyn. Anyway, I was just thinking that the thing is, those homeless people in California, most of them can go out and buy another house or rebuild their house or whatever. The people in Gaza are just homeless. They can't go and rebuild. They were already living in a refugee camp. I mean, they can't go and rebuild something. So they're going to be homeless again for however many years. But my question is, I mean, I have lots of empathy for the people in Gaza, but I still feel a little guilty because I know my tax dollars are going buying those bombs and giving Israel those bombs. So I have a little, I don't know, I have a little guilt about that I don't know what to do with or where to put. So what do we do?
I don't know what to do with it either, Audrey. I don't know where to put it. And I struggle with that. And when we talk about the tax dollars, that shows us something, how impotent we are when it comes to the government. And I know back in the day and still to this present time, there are certain things that we say that's white folk business because we have no influence on it. We have no influence on what happens in Gaza, whether it's a tax dollar. They don't care anything about that. We have no influence on what happens or in California. But keep this in mind also when we talk about tax dollars. The very people who are perpetrating what's happening and supporting what's happening in Gaza don't pay taxes. We do. If the billionaires in this country and millionaires paid taxes, everyone in this country could have free health insurance. Everyone in this country could have a state-sponsored pension, as they do in Japan. everyone in this country will have shelter. No one in this country would be hungry or homeless.
Well, that's the other irony. These people, some of these people in California, rich people who are blaming the government, but yet they don't want to pay taxes to the government to get those services.
And they don't.
Right.
I mean, you think about, let's look at this structure, the simplicity of it, but it gets complicated if you go beyond what I'm about to say. Let's say that a major corporation, a Walmart or a Amazon, let's say that they earn $100 million, $100 million a year. And what they do, they subtract the overhead from that $100 million. So let's say their overhead is 80%. So they subtract that 80%. So $80 million is not taxed, but 20 million is taxed. Now, look at you. You make $100,000 a year, and $100,000 that you make is taxed. Period. That's the difference. Not only that, but that 20 million that's left that they're supposed to pay taxes on, they not only do they get deferred payment, but they also tell the government how much money they have made as a profit to pay taxes on. And they have so many different ways to avoid paying the taxes until they end up paying zero taxes on 20 million, and you pay 100% taxes on your $100,000.
Right.
That's how the system works. So what do we do when we talk about what do we do, Audrey, with the events in Gaza as well as California? What do we do with this whole system, really? Because what's happening in Gaza is systemic. What's happening in California is an anomaly. The people in California, they are going to be made whole again, but not the people in Gaza.
Right. Right, which is a shame.
Yes. Look at Puerto Rico. How long has Puerto Rico been suffering from hurricanes that happened, 10 years ago? And they are a territory. So what are how do we justify that? What happened in Puerto Rico with what happened in California, with everything being taken care of there and nothing in Puerto Rico? The other part of that is, let's look at the economics of the whole picture if you want to. Why is it that people come across that border? Why is it that people leaving Venezuela? Why are they leaving Colombia? Why are they leaving Nicaragua? Why are they leaving these places and coming here? Because this country has gone to those countries and taken all their resources. They go into Venezuela or they go into another country and let's take, for example, oil. They go into that country now. Exxon owns the oil in that country, so they export all the oil out of that country. They pay them pennies for employment there. If those countries owned their own resources, then the people in those countries could make a living wage. And when they make enough money to live, now that money now you have money for housing, and because you have enough money to buy a house, you have created jobs for carpenters. And because you created jobs for carpenters, now you have created jobs for the company that manufacture cars. And it goes on and on exponentially in that manner. However, if you take everything out of that country, then it works the reverse. When I was in Haiti, I remember watching them in the rice paddies, and what they were doing, they would harvested rice and they would send it to America to be processed. They did not process it in Haiti. So they minimize the jobs that people can have in those countries. And here I am talking about the rice as though it's something powerful in Haiti when it's not. It is the minerals in Haiti is what they really want. And that is why there is a UN group in Haiti at this point. This right now, God in the mountains where they are mining I think it's cadmium or whatever the mineral is. So all of these things are is coming home. People, the chickens are coming on the roost, and it's time for us to understand at least the rudimentary significance of what's happening in these countries. The minimum we can do is see how these countries are robbed and see why the people are coming this way, and why is it that there are gangs in these countries. It's because when they got to this country, they found no work and they were selling drugs. And what they did, they round them up and took them back to those countries in South America. And now you have gangs there. So this country is guilty of creating havoc, chaos, and genocide throughout the world. America
Yeah.
is tip of the spear when it comes to that.
Yeah, and in the case of the situation with the rice in Haiti, to add insult to injury, the US turns around and exports the rice back to Haiti at a price that people can't afford.
Right. So we are. So what are we saying to us? We are saying it's time to put this in the macro. It's time for us to begin to understand the basic civics and economics of this country. It's time for us to begin to see how the system works. It's time for us to see how it works so that we are able to unravel it. If we know what we're working with, we can deal with it. How many times have we said that? Even when you go to a doctor, if the doctor tells you what you're dealing with, it's easier for you to deal with than it is when it's the unknown. Right now, what we are trying to do is say to you that we have lived too long with our head in the sand and not wanting to know that the detriment that this country is responsible for worldwide. And I am exceptionally elated that Steve Bannon and Elon Musk are fighting each other. I'm the person who just ready to buy the popcorn and watch the whole thing play out, because now the one in the middle is Trump. Is he going with Steve Bannon or is he going with Elon Musk? If he goes with Elon Musk, now he's fighting against MAGA base who don't want the H-1B visas in the country. They don't want them to get H-1B visas. If he goes with Bannon, now he's fighting the South Africans, Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, and that Stan, whatever his name is, those three South Africans who have a stated interest in making sure that those H-1B visas are issued so that they can make more money and then minimize the amount of jobs that are created in this country. These are the things that no one want to talk about, especially from the pulpit. Well, we shouldn't talk about that. We got to talk about Jesus. Well, I want to talk about what Jesus would have talked about if it had been a Jesus.
Well, and then they also pay those H-1B visa workers much less than they would pay an American worker.
Absolutely. One of my daughters are working with some people who are here on H-1B visas, and they make far less than those who are employed by the companies. So it is not just the fire. It's not just immigration. It's the whole network of things that we have to take into consideration. How is it that you can be comfortable with somebody calling people aliens? When you call someone an alien, you are saying that they're not human. and we're comfortable with that. How is it that we can be comfortable with white nationalists saying that make America great again? Or how is it that we can be comfortable with being blamed for all the things that are wrong with this country? When it comes to murder, far more white men are arrested for murder. When it comes to selling drugs, far more white men are drug dealers and arrested than we are as African men. When it comes to robbery, far more white men rape, same thing. You can name every category of crime, and you will find that the overwhelming number of people who are arrested for those crimes are white folk. Yet we talk about black on black crime and we're comfortable with it. So what about Asian on Asian crime? What about white on white crime? We don't talk about that. So what are we saying when we say black on black crime? We are criminalizing a whole race of people. That's what we are doing. And we have to address these things. And the system perpetuates this, and we perpetuate the system because we are silent. And I can't wait to have opportunity to raise questions in a broader broader audience about, if you care so much about us as the people who are being oppressed, then why is it that you have 1 million people out protesting Trump's first inauguration and you can't get 10 people out to protest our oppression? So, which means that you're not serious about it. So what am I saying? If we don't do this thing spiritually, it will never change. The system must change, but the system will not change if we don't see how the system functions. And there's too many of us who don't see how the system functions. And we get a degree and we get a job and we forget about where we came from. And not realizing that you could be right back where you came from tomorrow if that decision is made. It doesn't matter who you work for, what kind of degree you have, or how long you've been there. Piss the right people off and see where you're going to be. You will be terminated and you will not be able to find another job in this country, if not in this world. It depends on who you piss off. How is it that we're comfortable that Alito can have a conversation with Donald Trump before a decision is made by the Supreme Court about whether or not they're going to take a case that involves Donald Trump being sentenced? And how is it that he can be sentenced? And even though the sentencing procedure was put in place for circumstances like his, yet he got no consequences whatsoever. They could have fined him. They could have put him on probation. They could have done a deferred sentence, but they did none of that. And that says to me, clear than anything else, there is a two-tier legal system in this country. And we take that as being okay. That is not okay. That is not okay. And I'm going to get off my soapbox. So I'm done.
This is Vermel. Oh, Evelyn, do you want to ask your question now?
No, you go ahead. I yield.
Okay. Um, Thank you for bringing that to our attention. That makes me really, it gave me pause to really stop and think. So my question is, the way that we are to address this is through meditation.
We're addressing
Is
it
that the
now.
correct?
We're
Okay,
addressing it
all
now.
right.
Well, putting it in the macro, we address it. We address it every day. How do you treat the people around you? How do you treat the people at work? How do you treat the people in your house? How do you treat people you don't like? How do you treat people who don't like you? What's your attitude? That's what addresses it. If you can't address your issues, if you can't address how you interact with humanity, how is it that you can expect to change humanity for the better? You have to start with you. I have to start with me. Does that make sense?
It does.
We have to do that. It's imperative that we do that. We can sit back and talk about the system all we want, but if we are mistreating each other, we are perpetuating the system because we are many me's of Trump. We are many oppressors,
Mhm.
and I don't mean many in
Makes
terms
sense.
of numbers. I'm talking about MINI, and that's the stupidity with this language anyway. MINI many, MANY many. That's why it's so difficult to learn. But you understand what I'm saying when I say you many Trump.
Yes.
And I don't mean you Vermeil, of course. I'm talking about us as
No,
a whole.
but that's a lot of food for thought and understanding how, I guess I'm personalizing it for a moment, how I perceive others worldwide or across the country, California or Gaza or even in my home. I'm so used to thinking close, and though I may be moved by events I see across the world, that draws the connectivity all the way around for me just now. Thank you.
You're welcome. And Vermeil, keep in mind, we have to personalize it. We have to.
Yeah.
Because if we don't personalize it, we don't change.
But it's easier when it's right in your space and face than it is like your point about California. That's a little closer to home to me because I have some family there. But Gaza, when you put it that way, I know how I felt about Gaza, but you're right. After we came out of election, I can't say that I thought about it.
I want you to hear what you just said.
Okay.
This is the subliminal stuff that we receive and don't even think about it. You said,
Mm-hmm.
I know how I felt about Gaza, not
Mm-hmm.
how I feel,
Mm-hmm.
which means that it's in the past. I felt that way, but I don't know.
Now I feel differently after you bringing up how could you think uh, after we had our discussion of Gaza and California just now. But that what you said prior to that is very true. I I thought about it as it was happening, and it's still happening, but it became very a distant memory
And so is Puerto Rico.
until we brought it up now, and I think, and I connected with what we talked about the pineal gland yesterday. It's like they are no different. We're
No,
all connected to you.
it's
That was an opening for me.
it's like you are afterthought too. To white people, to Europeans, you are.
Hmm.
I am an afterthought. Keep in mind the word history. The word history comes from the Greek historia, and it means to obtain knowledge through investigation or through research. But it doesn't mean that anymore. It simply means the way the word is spelled, his story. And his story that's being told about you, me, and the rest of the world is that we are shiftless and lazy. And we and we are a burden to the country. And we have nothing to offer to society. And the people from South America are bums, rapists, and robbers. They are thieves and drug dealers. And the people from Africa are ignorant barbarians who eat people when nobody ate people but Europeans. That's how we are thought of. That's how we are perceived. That's what his story tells about our history. And that will continue if we don't deal with it. You, things are so awful until the only history that we hear about when it comes to people of color is extremely negative. The history of Europeans has never been told, ever. It has never been told. The whole idea about the Stamp Act in the 1700s, the Stamp Act was about the tax that was going to be charged for slavery, for the important slavery. And that is why there was a rebellion against the taxes for the Stamp Act. Then we look at us as being violent. We didn't drop a bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We did not import enslaved people from and enslave them from another part of the world. We did not lynch people. We did not murder anyone. We did not go into another country and assassinate its leaders. We did not go into Vietnam and under false pretenses and murder all those people and say and justify it by calling it war. We didn't do any of that. We didn't drop a bomb on Iraq, shock and awe, and kill 100,000 people in one night. We did none of that. We didn't go into Afghanistan and kill people who had absolutely nothing to do with 9/11, where we know doggone well that the majority of the people who were engaged in that came from Saudi Arabia. We didn't do that. But yet, here we are being labeled as the most violent people in this earth as Africans living in America. We have done none of those things. We have never, ever committed genocide against anyone. We have never done that. But yet, we are deemed to be violent. Yes, we are violent. There is a lot of violence in our communities, but we had the best teachers in the world. The violence is there because of the violence in this nation. We have been taught to be violent. We have been taught to steal. We have been taught to lie. We have been taught to do all of those things that are adverse to our nature and our culture. We have been taught those things by Europeans. And we were not taught those things because we were set in a classroom. We were taught those things by force. And if we did not perpetrate those things, we were killed, we were lynched, we were beheaded, we were boiled in oil. All these things were happening to us. We were in prison simply because we stood up and spoke out against the things that were being perpetrated against us and other people. And here we are. We did none of those things. We have always fought for everyone. And we on the phone with people, and we're talking to people, especially those of Japanese ancestry. And they're looking at us like we something nasty or something dirty. And they would never have gotten recompense or gotten their what do you call that? The money they got, reparations. Yes, they never would have gotten reparations if it had not been for Africans in America. It is the people who were involved in the early civil rights who made sure that the Japanese got reparations. And now they look at us like we something nasty because white people told them to look at us like that. And let me say, I'm saying white people and not a European mentality. I'm saying that because the people who did it, the people who are controlled, yes, they have a European mentality, but they also white people. They are white people. They're pink people. And we have to deal with what is. Am I painting everyone with the same brush? No, I'm not. But I want to ask you this. You do it on your own time. You find me one white person. I don't care how poor he is. I don't care how rich he is. You find me one white person who you tell them you can have $10 billion. All you have to do is change your color for mine. You be black and let me be white. And you can walk away with $10 billion. Find me one who will do it. And the reason they won't do it is because they're racist. They know what's being perpetrated against us. They know how detrimental this society is to us. When you can't find anyone who want to look like us, because they are well aware of what's happened to us. They are well aware of what happened in the past. Here we go, the Justice Department talking about the Tulsa attack was organized. We knew that from the beginning. So now here we are 100 plus years later, and you're talking about it was organized. And then on the heels of that, you have the white people talking about, well, we weren't living in the 1920s when that happened, so we are not responsible for it. Yes, you are. You are still dealing with me based on your importation of slaves. So yes, you are responsible for it. The system is responsible for it, Audrey.
And then they say, and too much time has passed for reparations,
Yes.
which made my blood boil.
And that, oh my God, the Black Man's Liberation, I'm calling her son. Oh, one of the first group of people, the Republic of New Africa, was an organization that was based, I think, in Youngstown, Ohio. But there was a group in D.C. Colonel Son was the leader of that, and they were the first ones that I came in contact with who were talking about reparations, and here we are. You're saying that we're too far away from it. Yet we are the ones who built this country, and now you are saying that we didn't. So the bottom line is this. What one of the things that they say when we talk about reparation is that true reparation will bankrupt this country. That's a bald-faced lie. When this country needs to come up with $20 trillion to fight a war, they do it. All they do is print money. When you are the one in this world who determines the value of all the money on the face of the earth, all you have to do is print your money. And every dollar all the money on the earth is valued based on yours. That's what we don't seem to get. When they say that Social Security is about to run out, it is, because they keep taking money out of it to fight wars and putting IOUs in there. Where did the money come from for the PPP loans and stuff? Where did it come from? They printed it. This country has zero debt. All this about a budget, this country has no budget and has no debt. How you gonna have debt when you determine how much the value of the money is? I'm done. Ron, I'm done, for real, for real.
Stuff.
Sir?
I think good stuff. You guys bring up a good point. Whether or not you feel guilty, feel frustrated, I think it all needs to be discussed.
And it needs to be discussed in a real way.
Yeah.
May I ask
Well,
another question here?
go ahead.
Just now we were talking about energy in my mind and understanding how our system came to be. Did that all come out of the energies of Cain and Abel, which is in each of us?
Yes. The energy is in all of us. Because if you were born as a result, well, if you came into existence because of us, then that energy was in us. The question, what do you have an affinity for?
Right, choice we make, right?
Choices we make.
Mm-hmm.
The choices we make. The choices we make as a people are choices that are detrimental to us. The most damnable thing on the face of this earth that has ever happened to us is when we embrace Christianity. And the second most damnable thing is Islam.
Say that last part again, Sage.
The second most damnable thing that we embrace is Islam.
Why Islam?
Why Christianity? Because both of them were brought into existence for the same reason: control and manipulation. Research Muhammad and see that Mohammedans, that Islam, it was not called Islam until the 1800s. Look at that. The late 1800s at that. And you will see that they were called Mohammedans. And if you can remember when you were younger, the Muslims were referred to as Mohammedans. And the reason is because of Muhammad, who came out of Spain into northern Africa. He was an African who had gone in with his daddy, and that with the Moors who civilized Spain, and he left and came back to northern Africa, and his quest was to raise the standard of African people who were suffering as a result of the invasion by the Eurasians who called themselves Arabs. And they start calling people who followed his methods as Mohammedans. And it would be no different than calling people who follow what Martin Luther King started, which calling them kings of those followers of Martin Luther King. And what they did, they took Muhammad, the followers of that, and they created a religion from it. And the religion that they created, they named it Islam, and they fed it to a group of people who could not read and write. Now I'm talking about the Arabs. I'm talking about Eurasians. I'm talking about a Eurasian is a Semite because a Eurasian is a semi-Asian and a semi-European. That's why they're called Semites. So that's why I say Islam, Ron. And you
Okay.
know why I say Christianity.
Okay. Thank you. It seemed like someone else had a question though.
Evelyn been yielding forever.
We're gonna save Evelyn for
Um,
last.
Oh, that's the best. Thank you, Laurent. Anyway, I'm not going to comment. I'm not going to ask a question because what you told us tonight, I've learned so much tonight. I think more than I did when I was in high school on history and the way this country is run. So thank you. But I yield. I don't have anything to say. Thank you.
You
Tonight
sound
was
like,
awesome.
hey, Evelyn, you sound like
Sir?
I can't hold out no longer. That's what you sound like.
I didn't want to say it, but you said it for me. Thank you. But yeah, tonight was very informative. I mean, very enlightened. Thank you.
So why do we have to have this conversation at the beginning of this term? I don't think anything is coincidental that we're here discussing this, kind of uprooting things or exposing them, probably a better way of putting it.
The underbelly of the system. Ask yourself this question. Why is it that, as far as I can remember, the treasures of this country have come out of NYU? NYU prepare people to run this country, the financial aspects of this country. Why did all of them come out of that? Why is it that the people who are in intelligence or the intelligence community or the people who are elected president, or except for Donald Trump, of course, the people go to all of these these schools, what do you call it?
Ivy League.
Ivy League schools. Why is it that? Why? Why is it that we can trace everyone who been in service to this nation to one of these Ivy League schools all the way back to the establishment of Harvard University. Why? Because these are schools that are designed to do exactly what they're doing, prepare people to perpetuate a system of colonialism. Keep in mind, this is not a European country. America is a European colony, having taken it away from the indigenous people who were here when they came. And the indigenous people who were here in larger numbers when they came were Africans. Everybody wanted to talk about the Native Americans, the Indians. The Africans were here when they came. If you look at the pictures that were taken, the paintings that were done, if you look at the genealogy of the people, you will find that when they sailed to this country, the overwhelming majority of people in North America and South America were Africans. The people we call Indians and indigenous people came into this country across the Bering Straits through Canada, south to America, and then into Mexico and other parts of South America, Central and South America. This is a colony that we live in. And in order for Jamaica to sustain itself, the British brought in slaves in order to build that colony. America brought in us, slaves, in order to build this colony. And this colony that was structured never was intended to include us. There is absolutely nothing in the foundation of this country that was supposed to include us in the functioning of this country. We were never supposed to be a part of the economic system. We were supposed to be the suppliers of the economic system. We were never supposed to be citizens. We were never taken into consideration when the citizenry of this country was established. And it burns me up to hear people who look like me talk about forefathers, the forefathers of our country. No, the establishers of this colony. We are not Americans. We have no privileges that the colonizers have. None. There are a few of us who make a little bit of money, but you still are dependent on the colonizers for your survival. It doesn't matter who you are, what you have. You are still considered to be either a burden to this country or a slave in this country. This has never been, and I repeat this, this has never been a colony that we were supposed to be a citizen of. That was never the plan. And that is the reason you could have Biden sitting on his butt talking about a Build Back Better plan instead of using his political capital to enforce the voter rights laws, to mitigate the suppression of votes. He did not do that. He used his capital to put money in the pocket of corporations by virtue of a Build Back Better plan. And that Build Back Better plan made the rich folks richer and the poor folks poor. That's how the country functions. Reading the signs of the times also involves understanding the environmental structure that you live in this colony. And maybe I should say questions or comments.
So, Red, this is Charles. That's why the black lady in Africa telling the African on this side to wake up.
Yes, well, that's why we're doing it too, Charles. Wake up and smell the coffee. You know, wake up because we have been asleep at the wheel. I have issues. I have a love-hate relationship with the civil rights movement. Always have. Integration took everything we had. Find the schools that African Americans attended, the high schools around, especially in the South. Find the communities. When I was a little boy, Wall Street was Bible. We had everything we needed. Integration took every bit of it. We didn't integrate, we assimilated. We assimilated into a colonistic society that had no care for us, had no desire for us to be a part of it. We were assimilated not because they wanted us. We were assimilated so they could control us. Urban renewal. Every city that goes through urban renewal ends up with African removal. I remember in DC, you didn't see any European unless you went downtown. Whole city was black. Not now, because they decided the nation's capital eventually go be a state, but it's going to be a state with white people running it. That was decided before I left DC. Okay, I didn't know this is what we are going to talk about tonight. I'm trying to say I'm done, but y'all won't say nothing.
Because it's too important. It's an eye opener, awareness opener.
But
So,
it's
Pastor, this is Evelyn.
uh-huh.
So Martin had a dream. So what is it that you have, if that makes sense what I'm saying? He saw what, I don't know how to fashion my question, but I'll just leave it like that. Martin had a dream. What is it that James Richard is
Let me
doing
back up
or
to Martin's
seeing?
dream. Let's back up to Martin's dream.
Okay.
When Martin Luther King made that speech, Mahalia Jackson was sitting behind him. And she said, Martin, tell him about your dream. That was not even in the speech. And that's when Martin Luther King started about, I had a dream. And that's the only thing white folk remember. That's the only thing they remember. They don't remember when he regretted integration. When he said, if I had known what I was doing to my people, I never would have led them into integration. They never talk about that. What does James Richard have? James Richard does not have a dream. James Richard has a vision of a spiritual, a humanity rather, that's based upon a foundation of spirituality without regard to the color of your skin, and a world that operates and functions without this made up thing called race. A society that existed before Europeans screwed everything up. A society where everyone is respected, everyone is recognized as being no different than the one who's recognizing you. when no one is without a home and no one is without food and no one is treated as though they are not human at all, when no one is being oppressed. That's the vision that James Richards has. I hope I answered your question, Evan.
Ashe.
Thank you. George, you came on, you had a question or comment?
Yes, I just had a comment. I mean, I'll just say this. I mean, it was something that I read about history, and I know that tonight is what we need to hear and needed to hear, but it says that history has but one honorable purpose, is to teach the student to be a responsible handler of power. We talk about the power of who we are. We talk about Elohim. We talk about the energy. And sometimes it's like we look at it so far out, but it could be something that's so simple when it comes to reconciling with one another in terms of the things that we grow through. You know, and maybe I can just share what I experienced. Yesterday, I had a conversation with someone who had an issue with their sibling, and one was a very religious person, and the other person was his biological brother, where they had differences with regards to their lifestyles coming up as children. And you know, I'm listening because the whole point of my being involved was to try to look at harmony where we don't look at so much in terms of um, one's religious beliefs or their whole purpose of trying to tell someone else what they should do. And what does this mean in terms of what I'm hearing now is that if we can't come together and appreciate being able to help each other through what we have been taught in terms of indoctrination. But I think the sad part was, well, it's not sad because I think that the end result was, you know, we need to, you know, put away all of the,
Our differences.
yeah, our differences and being able to appreciate what's the harmony. I mean, we all are spiritual beings. We all are, you know, what God created us to be. But why is it so hard that we can't, you know, let go of the entangled threads because of how we were taught? But I think tonight it comes back to if history has that one out of purpose is to teach us, you know, to appreciate the power that we have. I'm just sensing it in some way tonight that you know, would be a desire that's worth understanding and fighting for in terms of how can we come together as one and not be caught up in terms of what the system or what other people say is true riches or what other people say are our values that we have to live by. And I think that, you know, tonight just making me, reflect on our purpose for living. And so I think tonight history has that purpose is to help us to be able to understand, you know, again, that is not by might nor by power, but is by our spirit to know that we are healing each other tonight. We are coming more aware of how we can make a difference in that small place that we call home. That small place where we say family. And so, I mean, tonight really has resonated in a way that I just got to, continue to look in the mirror and appreciate what can you do to help. And so I was just trying to relate that little that little experience I had yesterday, because, it just hurted me to see two siblings fight like that, all because of doctrine. And one was a preacher, and the other one, was just a brother of a preacher. But it was just something that was on my mind. So I apologize if I.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, okay, I'm not gonna. I'm just saying what I've experienced. And so, Evelyn, I think in what you said and where we are tonight is a blessing that I know I'm on the call to be able to understand that better, because that's what we're going to have to confront and deal with. I'm done. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you.
I think the magical part of that is what Pastor said, because when Audrey asked the question about her guilt, um, it perked me up because I'm waiting to hear an answer or how everybody else feels about that. Uh, the desires that we set out to do, every one of those goals are still obtainable, and we still trek in that direction. Uh, and as has been said by numerous people, this all had to be said. All of it had to be laid out. It had to be laid out in this time, uh, in this new year. And I the sentiments that Pastor said, I echo as well. Those are my expectations as well. Uh, I confuse myself and I start looking for something uh, when I start trying to see the how-tos. My little mind starts trying to pull things together, and that doesn't work. So I appreciate the discussion. I appreciate all the insight, and I think this is very powerful, and
Yeah.
and it's more moving than we realize too. We're more than just talk about and bringing things to the surface. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Pastor.
No, I thought you were finished. Go ahead.
I'm good.
I want to speak to your statement about the how-tos and Georgia's about society coming together. You've heard this before. All of us who've been in church have heard it at some point. And I may not quote it where you can't quote the Bible word for word because there's so many renditions of it. So there's no such thing as word for word verbatim.
Mhm.
Eyes have not seen and ears have not heard what the universe has in store for humanity. Eyes have not seen, ears have not heard what the universe has for humanity. If you look up that word eye, it is single. Your eye has not seen, neither have you had an experience of what the universe has in store for humanity. The universe does not give us the privilege of the how-tos to restore what was from the beginning. The universe simply says to us, be a conduit through which the energy functions and creates in the environment that your body exists in. Your ears, your experience, your eye is not clear enough for you to see the how-tos. However, if you reflect on where you were and where you are, if you reflect on your desires and seeing your desires met by the uncovering of all of the devious things that has beset humanity, you have not seen a how-to, but you have experienced the results of your desires. Stop seeking a how-to and stop looking for a society that looks a certain way. It is not the society and how it looks. It is the trust that you have in the universe, knowing and embracing the reality that you have never been saddled with the how-tos. You have never been saddled with what a society should look like. All you have been saddled with is an obligation to desire what's best for humanity. And your eye will see what the universe has when the universe manifests it. And you will experience, your ear will hear, you will experience what the universe has for humanity when it is manifested. Your perception is not clear enough because it has been contaminated by the perception of those who have created havoc in the earth. Your experiences have been contaminated. You don't know what a pure spiritual experience is, because the experience that you are having is an experience that is still contaminated with religion. And a religious experience has nothing in it that's spiritual. It is totally devoid of spirituality. The religion tells you the how-to. If you do this, you will go to heaven. If you don't, you go to hell. That's a how-to that man has given you, that Europeans have given you. But I said the universe has given you the strength, the wisdom, the power, the understanding to move forward, so that at the point in this life, you will see the results, even though you will not see a how-to. Does that make sense?
Ashe.
Sure.
Resonate, yes.
How-tos come from European indoctrination. Trust, knowing, is deep in the heart of the African. Trust what you experience. Trust what you're being shown. If the skin of your body has the ability to connect with the universe to the extent that it can show your eye and put an image in your mind of what the universe looks like, even though you don't have a telescope, what more are you capable of? You were not brought in this earth to go along to get along. You were not brought in this earth to build nations for thieves. You were not brought in this earth to make excuses for barbarians. You were brought into this earth to civilize humanity. That's why we are here. And we don't know how to civilize humanity because humanity has made every effort to decivilize us. We are in a state of criminality, even when we are trying to move forward from this cesspool of hatred. Because criminality has been interwoven in our DNA. And that is why we find it difficult to not hate when we see what is happening all around us. It's painful, but we must speak the truth. It's painful, but we must embrace reality and not the illusion. There's no Red Cross in Gaza, but there's one in California. There's no food in Gaza. There's no medical equipment in Gaza, but it's in California. This is a cesspool of unrighteousness. And we are not in the midst of it to be unrighteous. We're in the midst of it to be the force that brings, that draws, that desires righteousness for the whole of mankind. So this colony can become a nation of humans as opposed to a colony of superior beings who think that they are superior and beings who are treated as subhuman. This colony must be destroyed. How to? I have no clue. It is not for me to know. I'm done. Questions, comments? Ron, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Questions or comments? I'm done.
Thank you. This is a good place to pause. Lot said tonight. Lot said tonight. So here we go.
You're in the place. You're on the mountaintop. You've been elevated tonight. You've been elevated so you can experience the presence of the ancestors who will draw all of this unrighteousness out of you. You've been elevated to the mountaintop so that you won't have doubt anymore because of the religious background that you were indoctrinated with. You have opportunity to have an experience of purity of heart and clarity of sight if you choose to. If you choose not, the plight that others must go through before they see righteousness is your lot also. We are burden bearers. Our burdens are not heavy when we know who we are. The burden is only heavy when you don't know who you are. The burden is light because the universe is the burden bearer. Our hearts may be heavy, but the burden is not heavy. The heart is heavy because of empathy, because of the depth of love that we have for humanity, even our children who have created this cesspool. Our hearts are heavy for their ignorance, but our burden is light. And our coupling together, our becoming one, has been an easy task. It has not, we have not struggled to become one unit. We have been fastened together. We have been brought together in a chain of spirituality without struggle. We didn't struggle to know each other, to love each other, to be together with each other. What we have struggled with is ridding ourselves of the fallacies of religion that's passing itself off as spirituality. You can't stay in this place all the time. There's work to be done. And the work to be done is not only in you, it is you working with others. When things rise up in you that besets you, you can't let that happen because it's in you, so you will know what's in you and to strengthen you so you can be a source of strength for others. I'm shown what I'm shown so that I can show you what I see. My experiences are your experiences. Our experiences are humanity's experiences. We are headed now to something that appears to be a valley that is darkened with hatred, a valley that is surrounded by vultures, a valley that seems as though there is no way out. That valley is not what it appears to be. That valley is an opportunity for the phoenix to rise, for truth that has been pressed to the ground to rise again. And in rising, the light enlightenment of that truth frees humanity who have become vultures. It frees all who are oppressors so that none would be oppressed and all would be able to live as humans in this earth, as Elohim having an earthly experience. The universe cries for us so it can feel what it's like to be in this earth environment free of all of the hatred and anger that we are experiencing now. It is up to us to submit to the journey so that the universe can experience what it feels like to be in a human body and still be spiritual at the same time, still be itself, yet it's in a body, a vehicle that sees with eyes, but experience with the eye. That's who we are. That's our journey. That's our purpose. That's our quest. There was nothing else for us to do. Stand fast. Nothing can overcome us. Nothing. Nothing. I'm done.
Amen.
Ashe.
Thank you. Okay. Well, if there's nothing more, comments, questions, let us pause here. Remember your meditation. Thank you for your energy tonight, everyone. Go back and listen to the video, and look forward to seeing you Saturday. Okay? You have something, George?
I'm gonna just say thank you, Pastor. Thank you, family.
Okay.
Thank you for your presence. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Everyone. Bye.
Good evening.
Thank
We